The sound of silence at the hallway outside stage 5 was quiet. Too quiet. It was supposed to be filled with laughter, chatter, someone playing music from their phone. But tonight, there was nothing. The studio lights hummed above like a restless machine. Keanu Reeves stood at the far end, still in costume, still holding the final page of the script. He had read it 6 times. But his eyes kept glancing toward the door across from him. Ana de Armas had not come out. An assistant had knocked, gently an hour ago. She had gone in with a tray of tea and left without it. Her face had said everything. Ana wasn't speaking. Not out of anger or defiance, but because she couldn't. Her voice was gone. Not hoarse, not cracking. Just gone. Keanu remembered the table read 3 days earlier. Her voice had been the most alive thing in the room. Warm, fierce, vulnerable. But something had shifted since then. Quiet glances, hesitation in her eyes. A hesitation that didn't belong to her character, belonged to her. He put the page down on the bench and walked slowly toward the dressing room. Each step felt heavier than the last, like something inside him knew this was more than a lost voice. It was something deeper, something she wasn't ready to name. He didn't knock. He simply stood outside and said softly, "I'm still here, Ana." No answer. A few seconds passed. Then the door creaked open just a little. Her eyes met his. They were red, not from sleep, but from something more familiar to both of them. Silence that hurts. "Do you want to talk?" Keanu asked. She looked at him, then gently shook her head. "Do you want me to?" Her lower lip trembled, but she nodded once. He didn't ask to come in. He just sat down outside her door, legs crossed like a quiet monk, back straight, calm. And then he began to speak not as a character from the film. Not as an actor, but as someone who had known silence too well. "I remember the first time I froze on set," he said. "It wasn't fear, it wasn't pressure. It was because something in my life felt broken, and the words stopped coming. Like my soul knew the script but forgot the melody." Ana slowly slid down on her side of the door. Now they were back to back, only a wall between them, both on the floor. "People think silence means nothing," he continued. "But sometimes silence is everything. It means you're carrying too much. It means you're screaming inside. But there's no safe place for the sound." A tear slipped down her cheek. He didn't see it, but he felt it. "You don't have to speak right now," he said. "But when you're ready, I'll be here. And if the words don't come, I'll say them for you." Inside, Ana covered her mouth with her hands and wept softly, not from sadness, but from being understood. Maybe for the first time in days. Outside, Keanu kept talking, not with rehearsed lines, not with poetic wisdom, just memories, simple stories. A dog he once found on the side of the road. A woman who hugged him at a gas station and didn't let go. A moment in Japan when a man bowed to him without speaking, and it was the most honest exchange of his life. Ana listened to every word like it was medicine. Her breath slowed, her eyes closed. An hour passed like a quiet dream. No cameras, no agents, no calls. Just 2 souls separated by a door, but bound by something invisible and kind. Eventually, she slid a note under the door. It was shaky and soft. But it said only one thing. "Please don't stop talking." Keanu read it, smiled, then leaned gently against the door. "I won't," he whispered. "Not tonight." He spoke until her breathing grew soft and steady. Until the tea in her room grew cold. Till silence wasn't scary anymore. And when he finally rose and walked back down the hallway, he didn't feel empty. He felt trusted because tonight he hadn't saved a scene. He'd held space for a voice that mattered, and that was enough. The echoes that stay at ETH next morning came too fast. Sunlight cut through the blinds in pale slices. The trailer lot buzzed again, crew members wheeling equipment, costume assistants rushing between trucks, and a director already shouting for set prep. But inside her dressing room, Ana sat still on the small couch, holding the note she had written the night before. It was wrinkled now, pressed too hard between her fingers, like it anchored her. She had not spoken a word since yesterday. Not even to herself. When the knock came, she didn't flinch. She already knew it was him. Keanu stepped in, careful, slow. Like he was walking into a memory instead of a room. He carried a small book this time, worn and faded, the spine bent from love. He didn't offer it to her right away. Instead, he sat beside her, left some space, and waited. Silence had rules. He understood that after a minute, she looked at him. He smiled and placed the book between them. "When I lost my voice," he said, "not the sound but the one inside me, this book helped." She looked at it. It wasn't a self-help book, not even a diary. It was a journal of stories from people who'd written about grief, healing, stillness. Pages filled with quiet truth. Anna traced the edge of it with her thumb. He didn't rush. Her didn't ask her to speak, didn't even ask her to read it, just left it there like a bridge. Then he stood, but before leaving, he looked at her again. "You don't owe anyone your voice," he said gently, "but you deserve to hear it again when it's ready." Anna blinked once, and that was enough. The door closed behind him with a soft click, and for a while she sat there with the book beside her, not reading, just breathing. Later that afternoon, the shoot was delayed. The director paced. The producer checked his phone. Too many times, assistants whispered that Anna hadn't shown up for the scene. The pressure was building. It's not just from the schedule, but from the headlines already being drafted in someone's mind. But Keanu stood calmly near the monitor. He knew she wasn't avoiding the scene. She was fighting something bigger than lines. She was trying to trust herself again. And so, when the director snapped, "We can't keep waiting," Keanu did something unexpected. He asked for the script, and then he asked for the boom mic. The room went still. "What are you doing?" the producer asked, confused. "I'm reading her part," Keanu said, "until she's ready." Gasps. Confusion. Someone started to object, but he cut them off. "Just for rehearsal," he said. "Let the rhythm live. Let her hear her own story, even if it's in my voice," he read softly. Not acting, not performing, just offering, word by word, line by line. And on a small monitor in the corner of her trailer, Anna watched. At first she sat frozen, her breath caught. He was speaking. Her lines, yes, but not like a man taking over. More like a friend holding her space. She closed her eyes and listened. There was something strange about it. The way her words sounded coming from him. They didn't feel stolen. They felt protected, respected, like he knew they were only borrowed. Her heart ached, but not in a bad way. It ached with relief that night. Anna wrote again. "Just a single line this time. You're not replacing me. You're reminding me." She slipped the note into his jacket pocket the next day, said nothing, just looked at him as he found it. He read it slowly, then nodded. And in that quiet way he always had, he smiled back at her and said, "Anytime." When the storm moved inside B the third day, Anna had spoken only once, and even then, only a whisper. Not in front of the crew, not in front of the cameras, just alone, when she was sure no one would hear. She had said her name out loud. It came. Out cracked, like a broken instrument trying to remember its tune. But it came, and it meant something. Because for the first time in days, she wasn't afraid of the sound. Still, the pressure outside was growing. Executives were flying in. Marketing teams were already worried. Tabloids had started circling. Questions were being asked quietly at first, but now louder. Some people whispered that Anna wasn't ready for this role. Others asked why Keanu kept defending her. He heard them all, and he ignored them all. He knew the difference between a broken voice and a broken spirit. And he knew Anna's spirit wasn't broken, it was just bruised. But what no one expected was what happened next. On the morning of the next scene, the studio head arrived unannounced. The air changed the moment he stepped on set. Sharp suit, tight smile, eyes that didn't blink enough. People straightened their backs. Voices lowered. Energy shifted. He didn't greet anyone. He walked straight toward Anna's trailer. Keanu was standing near the craft table when he saw it. His steps were slow at first, but firm. By the time he reached the door, the studio head had already knocked and opened it. Anna was inside, sitting near the window, sunlight spilling over her shoulder, like soft armor. She looked up, surprised, but stayed silent. The man didn't sit. "We need to talk," he said. "This film is too big for delays." Keanu stepped in quietly and leaned against the wall. The man glanced back at him, annoyed. "I wasn't talking to you." Keanu didn't move. "I know, but you're in her space. If she's not ready to speak, I will." The studio head's jaw tensed. "Keanu," he said, as if speaking to a child, "this isn't about friendship. This is business." "Oh," Keanu said calmly. "This is humanity. If you can't tell the difference, maybe you're in the wrong room." Anna watched with wide eyes, her hands clenched together, trembling. The man turned back to her. "Do you understand what's at stake here? Millions of dollars? Schedules? Reputations? If you can't deliver, we need to make decisions fast." Nah. Opened her mouth, but nothing came out. Keanu stepped forward. "Then you'll hear it from me," he said. "She's not quitting. She's healing. And if you rush her, you won't just lose a lead. You'll lose something a lot harder to replace." The man looked him up and down. "Are you threatening me?" "No," Keanu said. "I'm reminding you." The room was quiet for a moment. Then Anna stood up, slowly, shakily, but fully standing. She walked to Keanu's side, gently placed her hand on his arm, then turned to the studio. Head, she didn't speak. She just looked him in the eye and nodded once. Strong, it said everything. She wasn't afraid of him. She just wasn't ready to speak on his terms. The man left. Not because he agreed, but because something in the room had shifted. He could feel it. After he left, Keanu looked at her. "You were brave," he said. Anna pointed to her throat, then placed her hand on his chest, smiled. She didn't need words. He understood that afternoon. The crew watched something they wouldn't forget. Anna walked onto the rehearsal set. She didn't speak, but she performed. Not with dialogue, but with eyes. With breath, with presence. She moved through the scene with a kind of rawness that needed no sound. And when Keanu joined her, reading both his lines and hers, no one dared interrupt, because what they saw wasn't a mistake in production. It was a moment of grace. Two actors, one voice, one silence. Both powerful, and when the director whispered, "Cut," there wasn't a dry eye in the room. Anna bowed her head gently. Keanu touched her shoulder, and in that small space between silence and sound, something had been reborn. The voice behind the glass 3 days after the silent performance, the energy on set had shifted. Crew members no longer tiptoed around her. No one whispered when she walked by. People smiled at her with something new in their eyes. Respect. Not pity, not doubt, just respect. But healing wasn't a straight line. It was a winding path. And sometimes, something from far behind could reach forward and pull you back. That morning, the producer brought Anna a package. No return address, no label, just a simple envelope, sealed in gold wax. She sat with it on her lap for a long time. Keanu noticed from across the trailer lot. He was sipping coffee near the fence, pretending to study the call sheet. But his eyes kept drifting back to her. He could feel it again, that weight she carried before the silence. Anna opened the envelope. Slowly. Inside, there was a photo. Old, slightly faded. It was her, maybe 17. Stage makeup. Wide eyes. Forced smile behind her. A man, hand on her shoulder, her father, her breath caught. Under the photo was a handwritten note. "You don't belong. There you never did. They'll take everything from you, like I warned you they would." No signature. But she didn't need one. Her throat tightened. Not from sickness. From memory, her voice had started slipping the moment she heard he was released from prison 2 months ago. She hadn't told anyone, not even her closest friend, not even Keanu. But now he was reaching for her again. And just like that, the silence returned, heavier, darker, not protective anymore, punishing. Keanu knocked gently. She opened the door, still holding the envelope. Her face was pale. He didn't ask. He just waited. She walked to the small window and stood there. He joined her, and after a minute, she placed the photo in his hands. He looked at it. Everything clicked. He didn't speak right away. But his eyes said enough. He sat down. Legs crossed on the floor again, just like that first night, you know? He began softly. When I was 20, I didn't talk to my father for years. Not because I hated him, but because every word he ever said to me was a trap, like even kindness had strings. Anna slowly slid down the wall, sitting beside him. Some people, he continued, don't hurt you with fists. They hurt you by stealing your belief in yourself. Every time you succeed, their voice plays in your head, telling you it's not real, not earned, not yours. Anna closed her eyes. A single tear ran down. But you're here, he said. He's not. That's not luck. That's courage. She opened her eyes and met his gaze. You have every right to silence him, Keanu said. Not with revenge, not with words, but with truth. She touched her throat. Still no sound? But then slowly she moved to her table and picked up a pencil. She wrote something down, then handed it to Keanu. The paper said, Can I speak through you, just once more? He looked up at her. Always, he said. That night, the scene was a monologue. Anna's character was supposed to stand in front of a mirror and deliver a final letter to someone who had betrayed her. It was the emotional peak of the film, but Anna didn't step forward. Keanu did, and the director didn't stop him. He held the letter Anna's real words, handwritten, shaky, raw, and he read it on camera. Every line, every pause, every memory she had buried, every ache she hadn't spoken. And Anna stood behind the mirror off-screen, since centers, falling, fists clenched, breath steady. By the time he finished, the set was silent. Even the lights seemed dimmer, like the air itself understood something sacred had happened. The director didn't say cut. He whispered it. And when Keanu walked back to her, she stood waiting. She didn't cry. She just looked at him and mouthed one word, thank you. He nodded, then said, that was your voice. Only carried it. For the first time in days, she believed it. When the spotlight found her again, the day started with calm. Birds over the lot, quiet chatter in the hair and makeup trailer. Even the sky looked softer. Anna walked in early, wrapped in a long coat, holding warm tea. She looked stronger now. Not loud. Not loud in any way, but steady. The kind of steady you earn after surviving something silent. She nodded at people on the lot. Some nodded back. Others paused just for a second, as if they couldn't believe she was really back. Standing tall, eyes clear, hands not shaking, Keanu wasn't on set yet. His call time was later. But she didn't feel scared. Not anymore. And then it happened. Producer ran up to her trailer mid-morning, face pale, voice quick. We've got a situation, he said. Anna blinked. What kind of situation? He held up a tablet. On it, a live stream. Famous entertainment show. One of the loud ones. Always hunting scandal, always chasing drama, was doing a live segment. They had a leaked clip of her silent rehearsal, her note to Keanu. Even the moment she handed him the envelope, someone had recorded everything, and now it was everywhere on the screen. The host leaned in with fake sympathy. It's brave, sure, she said, but is Ana de Armas still reliable? Or has Keanu taken over too much? Sources say she's being coddled. Maybe Hollywood's just too soft these days. Anna didn't react right away. She just stared at the screen, letting the words sink in like cold water. The producer looked nervous. We can pull out of the event tonight, the film panel. I can make up a story. Keanu will understand, Anna said. Nothing but in her eyes, something flickered. No, not this time. Not hiding again. The event was that evening. A live panel at the Academy Theater. Packed audience. Cameras. Questions. Anna's name was on the guest list. So was Keanu's. But when she stepped out of the car hours later, she was alone. No bodyguard. No Keanu. Just her. The moment she walked onto the carpet, flashes exploded. Reporters leaned in. Microphones extended like claws. And then someone asked the question she knew was coming. Anna, is it true Keanu has been speaking for you? Are you afraid to use your own voice? Silence. Every lens pointed at her. People leaned forward. Anna stepped up to the mic, and for the first time in front of the world, she spoke. Her voice was soft, breathy, but clear. He spoke for me when I couldn't. Not because I asked, but because he listened. And now I'm speaking again, because he gave me time. Not a script. Not a spotlight. Just space. The room went silent. You could hear someone drop a pen in the back row. Anna looked directly into the camera. Some people fight by yelling, some fight by showing up tonight. I showed up. Then she walked past the stunned reporters and stepped. Onto the stage, the host tried to change the subject, tried to soften the heat, but the moment had already happened. And then, just as she sat in the center chair, under the soft glow of the spotlight, Keanu walked in from stage right. Quiet, unannounced, he looked at her. She smiled. And for the first time in front of a full room, they didn't need a script between them. He sat beside her and said nothing, because he didn't have to anymore. She had found her voice again, and the world heard it. The final scene was never in the script. Weeks passed. The noise faded. The headlines moved on. The press found a new scandal. The industry whispered less. The cruel talk shows got quiet. But something strange happened in the silence that followed. People remembered not the drama, not the leak, not even the speech. They remembered how she stood there. Soft voice, strong back. Not defending herself, but just telling the truth. They remembered how she didn't flinch when the question came. How her voice didn't shake when the world tried to push her back down. It spread. Slowly, like sunlight through thick trees, young actors started mentioning her in interviews. People wrote letters. Fans shared stories of their own lost voices. One girl sent her a notebook, blank, except for the first page. It said, "This is for the words you helped me believe I could write," Anna cried when she read it. Not the kind of tears that fall from pain. The kind that come when a wound finally scabs over and you realize it's healing. The film wrapped. On the final day of shooting, the set was quiet again. Not from tension, but from something peaceful. Anna stood in front of the last scenes. Backdrop: a quiet kitchen in the story's final act. Her character was supposed to read a letter out loud. One final line. A moment of closure. The director called for action. Anna held the letter and didn't speak. Everyone froze, but the director didn't cut. He waited. Anna slowly looked around. Her eyes scanned the room, the lights, the camera, the crew, the very floor beneath her feet. Then she stepped forward and placed the letter on the table and spoke. The line from memory, not because she was supposed to, but because she chose to. And when she spoke, her voice carried not loud but deep, rich, full, like it had traveled through fire and finally found its shape. When she finished, the director didn't call cut. He just stood, slowly, and clapped once. Everyone followed. The room filled with applause, and in the corner, Keanu leaned against the wall, quiet as always. But his smile said everything. After the scene, Anna found him by the old stage door. "You didn't say a word today," she said, smiling. He looked at her. "You didn't need me to." She held up her phone. "Kept something." She pressed play. It was his voice, soft, steady from weeks ago. The night he sat outside her door, telling old stories. Memories. The sound of someone who stayed. "Kept it," she whispered, "because even when I couldn't speak, your voice made mine feel alive." Keanu nodded. "I only held it until you could carry it again." They stood in silence for a moment, but it wasn't empty anymore. It was full of everything they'd walked through. Then she reached out, hugged him tight, not quick, not polite. A hug that said thank you without words. He hugged her back, and then he said the only thing left to say, "You were never voiceless, Anna. You were just waiting for the world to listen." Months later, at a quiet award ceremony, the film won something unexpected. Not Best Picture, not Best Actor, not Best Actress. It won a new category, Best Unscripted Moment. The moment Keanu read her letter on set. They played a clip on the screen. But it wasn't his voice the audience remembered. It was hers. The voice that came. After strong, unapologetic, and entirely her own.